Peace, peace, peace. What it is, just Brother Tavon Sueno, aka the Orthodox Moor, aka the Seven Pillar Saracen, here with another edition of Speaker's Corner USA, where I am addressing an issue I addressed a couple weeks ago concerning Brother Shamsi and Brother Ahmed, the Somali Maverick. Big up to the brothers, you know what I'm saying? Big up to Somali speakers who was out there filming in whose video I caught and used to break down the concept of the Quran alone within the Quran. Brother Shamsi was out there demanding proofs from Brother Ahmed concerning a verse about the Quran alone, etc. And in that video, which I have linked down below, this is like a part 2. So if you're not caught up on this, definitely go watch the part 1. I break down the debating tactics of my brother Ahmed and his specificity on how he deals with things and whatnot. And I break down why I made the video, that first one, just so people don't think he was avoiding the point, etc., whatnot. And so basically, I cited Surah 17, ayah 46 for the concept of the Quran being mentioned alone, specifically in that wording and whatnot. And so, if you go watch that video, within the comment section of that video, a good brother of mine named Vegeta, a good Sunni brother, Assalamu alaikum Ahmed, brother, I used to get it in with all the time over from in the UK hangouts or whatnot. We had a little circle of a multi an interfaith circle within the Islamic community. So we had Quranists, we had Sunnis, we had Shias, we had Salafi Sunnis, we had Sufis, etc., all within the same circle. And we would just debate theology and talk about stuff. It was dope. It was a real good build or whatnot. And so he came in, you know what I'm saying, my man Vegeta, if y'all know Dragon Ball or whatnot, that's why I got the thumbnail and the music intro and whatnot, you know what I'm saying. If y'all know the cartoon, the anime, Vegeta's a little bit of an obstinate type dude, you know what I'm saying, with a chip on the shoulder. And that's how my man Vegeta is over here in the Islamic circle and whatnot. So he always be coming through with the ready to get it in real hard and sharp and whatnot. And I always dug that about my dude because I had to be ready for him, you know what I'm saying? And so he came through for a hard spar and let me know what it was, you know what I'm saying? And so I appreciate you, Vegeta. I told you that I would give you a video response to what you were talking about, because I thought that you came with some really, really good arguments. I thought that I really appreciated the arguments that you came with because, like, so Vegeta knows that I don't deal with the hadith for jurisprudence and whatnot. So he came at me and made just a Quranist argument for what I was saying. He went through the Quran and went through the linguistics and the context and gave me a really good argument. He left me a really lengthy message, which I'm about to show y'all. So I just want to say, Brother Vegeta, thank you for that. I appreciate that. I'm about to get it in with you, you know what I'm saying? I know you left me a message talking about like my warm response to you, you know what I'm saying, kind of nullified some of your aggressive intent and whatnot. But just do me a favor, like be cool with it still. Like we can still be cool, you know what I'm saying? Just like don't lose all the aggressive intent because I like that aspect of our spars, bro. It keeps me sharp and whatnot. You know we're still brothers at the end of the day, and you're always welcome to build and come through. So it's never gonna be personal between you and I, bro. Never. We always good, bro. So with that, I'm gonna share my screen right quick, just to give people some background as to what we're talking about. Just to give some people some background. And I'm gonna play a little part here, and I'm gonna get into it. Oh, now my computer want to be funny. Now it's time to perform. You want to be funny.
We'll start again. Okay. So remember. Okay.
Ask question and answer it.
Wait. Okay. Remember the question. Yes. The question was very simple. The claim is that Sunnah goes with the Quran. They go hand in hand. That is the claim. Yeah. The substantiation of that claim goes upon the claimant, not myself. I am not the claimant. You understand what I'm saying to you? Yeah? So with that being said, what we're not going to do is we're not going to play guesswork about, oh, this is what he's going to do. He's going to rely on this relation. He's going to rely on that relation. You cannot speak about this translation. You cannot speak about what I'm going to do in the future when I have not said so so far. The only thing we have at hand here is that you've made a claim and you need to prove that claim. That's it. That's the only question here. I want my question. 10 seconds. I want, remember this. He said he doesn't ask, I don't answer his questions. I want my question answered.
5 seconds.
Done.
There's no claim. There's no question here. It's I make claim. No, you're making a claim. No, you're making a claim too. The claim you're making that we should not follow Sunnah, we should not follow the Messenger of Allah.
I'm not making that claim.
You're making the claim.
No, I'm not.
Should we follow the Messenger of Allah?
I'm not making that claim.
Should we follow? No, watch. Should we follow the Messenger of Allah? Should we follow the Messenger of Allah?
He's asking you.
Because now he's making a claim we only follow Allah, which is the Quran. Because if he's saying the Messenger of Allah also the Quran, that's a disbelief. Because the speech of the Messenger of Allah is not in the Quran. The only speech in the Quran is the speech of Allah. So are you making the claim we should not follow the Messenger of Allah?
He's got 28 seconds.
Okay, I'm giving you my time. Go on, answer my question.
Your minute.
Okay.
Your minute is right now. Ahmed.
See, what I do is, as far as I'm concerned, words have definitions. You cannot apply whatever you want to words. The definition of a messenger is one who delivers a message. That is the definition of a messenger. The message the messenger has delivered is called the Quran. That is that. So this notion that you need to follow the individual that had the title the messenger is a claim itself, which needs to be substantiated by those that make that claim, not myself. As far as the Quran is concerned, the only duty, word for word statement from the Quran, the only duty upon the messenger is not but a clear notification of the message. That's a direct quote from the Quran. Over to you.
First of all, that is a translation again. That is not the Quran. Quran was written in Arabic. Okay, so he's making the claim that the messenger job only to convey the message as a postman, to give you the letter. He's saying we should not follow the messenger of Allah. He's making the claim as well, but he's playing around. So now my question to you clearly, are you making the claim we have to only follow the Quran? Are you making that claim? Yes or no?
That's what the Quran says.
Okay, show me what the Quran says only for the Quran.
You've done?
Yes.
You can pause it now.
Yes.
Yeah, pass it.
I'll give you time.
No,
Because you're making a claim now. Okay.
Please, my brothers.
Only for the Quran. Allah said.
The only duty of the messenger is but the clear notification of the message. That's it.
Where does it say?
What do you want me to
No. I said my
you
question.
done? Are you done?
My brother has not answered my question. I didn't ask him. My question was precise. Where does it say in the Quran only follow, not the message, because the message consists of the Quran and the Sunnah. That is the proof. Wait. And my question now to you, before I prove the claim, where does it say in the Quran only follow the Quran? That's my question.
Okay. It does not need to say only. The Quran. No. It does not.
People, please, brothers.
It does not need to say only, because the term only assumes that there is more than the Quran. So that assumption needs to be substantiated by yourself for assuming that it needs to dictate only. The word that we have here is message. If we're going to assume that the message is more than the Quran, you have to provide evidence for that. You cannot just insist it. What he's trying to do now is he's trying to insist it. And you heard him say himself right now. He said the message includes the Sunnah. I want that claim substantiated.
That's my time now.
He's running around.
We prayed already, brother. No. Brother, clearly, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent the Quran. No translation, because when he's going to bring translation, I'm going to ask him why we have to accept your translation, not translation Muhsin Khan. Okay? Why not that in the same Sahaba? Allah sent the Quran. Allah has given the commandments. Okay? ما كان لمؤمن ولا لمؤمنة إذا قضى الله ورسوله أمرا. It's not befitting for a believer. And today we're going to see who is a true believer and who is a disbeliever in Allah and His Messenger. Allah said the true believer is not befitting for the true believer if Allah decreed something and the messenger decreed something. But if Allah decreed something, the messenger is not in need of to legislate nothing. Because if Allah decreed something, it's upon the messenger to convey it, not to decree. So Allah said, if Allah decrees something and the messenger decrees something, they go look for another opinion. So here Allah mentioned two things. So when Allah decrees something, where is it? The Quran. When the messenger decrees something, if he says in the Quran, that's disbelief. That's my proof. Okay.
I have found two people who apply the same tactics when it comes to the Quran. I have found two people that apply the same tactics when it comes to the Quran. The right-wing people and the Salafis. They both apply the same tactics when it comes to the Quran. Namely, what they do is they isolate a verse and they detach it from its context and they attach whatever narrative they wish to that isolated verse. Now, the verse that he brought up, I think, is in 464, if I remember correctly. It's not Ahzab.
Yeah, I'm gonna leave it there for right now. So this is what it is. Like, so first of like, so in that last little exchange or whatnot, Shamsi said that when Allah decrees something and when the messenger decrees something, etc., whatnot, right? So the way Brother Ahmed debates, because like I said in my first video, he knows this verse that I'm about to cite here, that I cited in my first video. But the way he debates, he doesn't deal with something unless you substantiate the need to have to deal with it or whatnot. And so he was saying, before I deal with this, you have to substantiate that I need to use the hadith, period, or that it needs to say alone, or that there's something else other than the Quran. He wasn't saying that he couldn't produce something stipulating the Quran alone, etc., whatnot. And so you can go back and watch the rest of the video, etc., whatnot. And you can definitely go watch the video below on Brother Khalid's channel. A shout out to him, Somali speakers and whatnot. There's a lot of good back and forth there and whatnot. But yeah, in my video that I made, my brother Vegeta jumped in. Let me share my screen one more time. My brother Vegeta left me a very, very, very lengthy message to where and detailed and thorough that I want to deal with. So Vegeta's response to my response to Shamsi. He said, Salam Orthodox, it's been a while since we sparred. This response to your video may not, or it may be too lengthy, but I have an issue with two claims you're making in your video. False claim number 1, verse 1746 is addressing the Sunnis and not the polytheist. False claim number 2, verse 1746 is about a Quran alone concept and not about the oneness of Allah. Regarding your first claim that verse 1746 is addressing the Sunnis, this is falsehood. Clearly, these verses are addressing the polytheists and not those who follow the Sunnah of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, as you are alluding to. So check this out. Just so we're clear, I didn't make that first claim that he's talking about in my video. And I'll clarify that here. There's a lot that he says that has to do with that first claim about me addressing Sunnis. I'm not addressed. I never, not one time, said that verse had to do with Sunnis. Ever. Not one time in that video. But I think I understand what he's saying. So I'm going to try to address it going forward. But this is what this is all part of his comment. He cites 1742. It says, say, O Muhammad, if there had been with him other gods, as they say, then they each would have sought to the owner of the throne away. And this is his commentary. He says, the Sunnis don't say there are other gods with Allah. The polytheists do. So how are you alluding that 1746 is addressing the followers of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and his Sunnah, right? 1743, giving further context, which I appreciate. Like I said, he's going Quranists on this with his context and then his commentary. Exalted is he and high above what they say by great sublimity. So his commentary is focus on what they say. They, meaning the polytheist, your claim 1746 is addressing the followers of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Sunnah is again therefore declared false. 1745, and when you recite the Quran, we put between you and those who do not believe in the hereafter a concealed partition. Those who do not believe in the hereafter are the polytheists, not the Sunnis, as you are claiming in 1746 alludes to. To further establish that those who do not believe in the hereafter is in fact addressing the polytheists and not the people of the Sunnah, there are multiple verses. Here is one. 6 ayah 150, and do not follow the desires of those who deny our verses and those who do not believe in the hereafter while they equate others with their Lord. So you claim that 1746 is addressing those who follow the Prophet's Sunnah is therefore to be rejected, and what is to be accepted is 1746 is addressing the polytheist. This sets the context of 1746. So again, just to be clear, and if you go back and watch my first video, which I hope you do, nowhere do I make the claim that, let me make this, no, I'll leave it like that. Nowhere do I make the claim that that the verse is addressing the people who follow the hadith of the Prophet. Because I consistently make the claim that the hadith of the Prophet are never mentioned in the Quran. So I'm definitely not making that claim. Definitely not making that claim. But he goes on to he goes on to do another point. He says, regarding your second claim that 1746 is about a Quran only concept and not about the oneness of Allah. First, even if your understanding of this verse is correct, which I appreciate that concept, it still doesn't mean the Prophet's application of the Quran, i.e., the Sunnis, should be rejected, since the Sunnah of the Prophet is the application of the Quran. Secondly, since the context of these verses is clearly addressing the polytheist and not the Sunnis, then this verse being about the oneness of Allah makes more sense than for it to be about the Quran alone concept. Fantastic argument. Fantastic argument. Like I said, my man came ready to go. Thirdly, the polytheists accepted Allah as their Lord, but they never accepted the oneness of Allah. There are multiple verses which provide this. Here is one. Surah 39, ayat 38. And if you ask them who created the heavens and the earth, they would surely say Allah. Say then, have you considered what you invoke besides Allah? Again, fantastic point. Therefore, your reading of the verse as, and when you mention your Lord in the Quran alone, doesn't correlate with the rest of the Quran, as the polytheists accept the mention of Allah. It is the oneness of Allah they reject. So it is the oneness of Allah they turn back. So it is the oneness of Allah they turn back in aversion from, not the Quran only concept you are making up. So, and then he says, fourthly, look at how identical 1746 is to 3945. And I'm really going to, and I really appreciate this proof here, because I'm definitely going to be harping on that one in a second. It says 3945, and when Allah is mentioned alone, wahdahu, the hearts of those who do not believe in the hereafter shrink with aversion, but when those worshipped other than him are mentioned, immediately they rejoice. And so he's talking about how this all deals with like the mentioning of Allah alone and the shrinking of aversion. And he highlights a specific term here, alone, wahdahu, which is also used in 1746. It says il Qurani wahdahu, for the word, wahdahu being the word for alone. He says here that both of these verses are addressing the polytheists to whom Allah is mentioned alone, not the Quran alone concept you are interpreting it as. Fifthly, whenever the word wahdahu is mentioned in the Quran, it is always referring to the oneness of Allah, not the Quran alone concept or anything else. So why are you saying 1746 is referring to Quran alone concept when in 770 they said you have come to, I believe this is where he mentions all the verses. Yeah, he shows all the verses, which is I believe 8 or 7 or 8, where it shows wahdahu being used in correlation with Allah. And so he says this in 770 they said, have you come to us that we should worship Allah alone, wahdahu, and leave what our fathers have worshipped? Then bring us when you promise us, if you should be of the truthful. And then he sees the correlation with 3945 mentioned above, Allah alone, and it says wahdahu, right? In 4012 it says they will be told that it is because when Allah was called upon alone, you disbelieved. 4048 or 4084, and when they saw our punishment, they said, we believe in Allah alone, wahdahu, and disbelieve in that which we use to associate with him. 64. There has already been, and these are all his proofs, by the way. 64. There has already been for you an excellent pattern in Abraham and those with him, which for all my people who think that the Quran is talking about Muhammad being the only example to follow, just so we're clear, this is just a little sidebar. It literally stipulates in the Quran that Abraham and those that were with him were also excellent patterns to follow on an equal status as Muhammad. It doesn't say Muhammad was more of it. It used the same Arabic form, excellent pattern. Just throwing that one out there. So the Quran doesn't stipulate it's just Muhammad you follow. That's why it talks about the religion of Abraham, etc. Sidebar, whole nother thing. So let me go back to it. 64. There has already been for you an excellent pattern in Abraham and those with him, when they said to their people, indeed, we are disassociated from you and from whatever you worship other than Allah. We have denied you, and there has appeared between us and you animosity and hatred forever until you believe in Allah alone. Wahdahu. So he goes on and says this, and then 1746, which must also be talking about the oneness of Allah, not the Quran alone concept you are claiming. 1746, and we have placed over their hearts coverings lest they understand it, and in their ears deafness. And when you mention your Lord alone in the Quran, they turn back in aversion. Sixthly, in every verse where Waqtahu is mentioned in the Quran, it always addresses the polytheists, not those who follow the Sunnah of the Prophet. For the time being, I will leave it at this, but the conclusion so far here is that 1746 is not addressing those who follow the Sunnah of the Prophet, as you alluded to, but rather the polytheists are being addressed. 1746 is not about the Quran only concept, but rather it is about the oneness of Allah. So hopefully I gave my man's argument I get a good reading or whatnot. But I really want to say I appreciate how my man came through. I mean, it was really sharp. I like how he went to Waqtahu in Allah and went to all the times in the Quran it's used, etc. And try to give context for 1746. I really appreciate that. I'm going to use a similar method to give my proof for what I'm saying, and I think by the end it's going to be pretty much like 1,000,000% clear. But my man said he was holding back a little bit. He didn't show me his final form yet, so maybe we might have to do a part 3 on this joint. So we'll see what that is. Hopefully he can come on. We can get it in together. You know what I'm saying? But I say here in a few points, I never made the claim that 1746 was speaking about the people that followed the Sunnah of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. I made the claim that the Sunnah of Muhammad is never mentioned in the Quran. I also made the claim in that video that the Sunnah of Allah is found in the Quran, and I gave the verses 1773, 3338, 3362, 3543, and 4823. I also made the claim that the Quran never says the Quran and Sunnah in that video. I made the claim that the Quran says the book and the wisdom. I also made the claim that Allah teaches the individual and prophets the book and the wisdom via verses in the Quran. Surah 2, Ayah 129, 2, 151, 2, 231, 348, 381, 3164, 454, 4113, and 62:2. My proof using 1746, and please pay attention to this, family, and Vegeta, please pay attention to this. My proof using 1746 is not based upon exegesis or textual context. So where he said like every other spot in the Quran is used this way, it's used to refer to the oneness of Allah, of which I don't disagree. By the way, I don't agree with the point that he made there. But I'm not making a context argument. The proof I provided was based upon the translation of the language, the literal Arabic of the verse. And I showed that in the English translation, and I'll show it again here, that the Arabic is not translated correctly into English. But I'll emphasize this with the verse that he wanted me to look at beforehand in Surah 39. However, in 1745 through 46, it gives the exegetical context that the Quran is being referred to as alone. And I will get into that further. 1745, and when you recite the Quran, we put between you and those who do not believe in the hereafter a concealed partition. So this is talking about in 1745, you're already reciting the Quran. You're already citing the Quran in 1745. 1746, it says, and we have placed over the heart's coverings, lest they understand it, and in their ears deafness. And when you mention your Lord alone in the Quran, they turn back in aversion. So what's my argument here? Just to clarify, it's not saying your Lord alone, because that's not what the Arabic is saying. And I'll show that with the other verses my brother gave. It's literally saying the Quran alone in the Arabic. So in the other verses he had me look at, it was saying Allah waqtahu. I'm saying here, and pointing out, it's saying il Qurani waqtahu. It's not talking about the oneness of your Lord. It's talking about the Quran alone. But I'm gonna get into that. These are the verses that he talks about concerning the Allah alone concept. So I want people to see the linguistics of how this works out. So you're going to see that in the verses he cites to corroborate his context, you're going to see that there's a verb before Allah then Allah, and then wahdahu. Verb, Allah, wahdahu. An action, Allah, as the proper noun, and then wahdahu is the modifier for Allah. Okay? They said, have you come to us that we should worship Allah alone? Okay? Then labuda laha wahdahu. You get the action, you get Allah, then you get alone. This is going to be the pattern I want you to pay attention to, okay? Because that's not the pattern that we see here. Here we see that Rabbaka being for your Lord or Allah is mentioned. You have the action first, right? You have the karta, which is the mentioning, the action. You have the proper noun of your Lord being Rabbaka, referring to Allah. Then you have a whole different concept of fi il-Quran li wahdahu, in the Quran alone. The Quran here is being mentioned as the alone concept, not Rabbaka. The wahdahu follows the Quran as the noun. It's modifying il-Qurani as the noun, not modifying Rabbaka as the noun. And you can tell it's because fi is separating the two nouns. Surah 39, ayat 45. And when Allah is mentioned alone, right? Again, wa'idha dhukra illahu wahdahu. Now, I'm really going to focus on this one at the end because this wording is how it should be in 1746, if what my man is saying is correct. It's saying the same thing. When Allah is being mentioned alone, or there's a mentioning of Allah, and then there's an aloneness in some way, shape, or form. Dhukra, even the same word like the karta, right? So you get the action, you get the noun, and then you get wahdahu as the modifier. Action, noun, modifier. And it's the same. So it should look exactly like this in 1746 because it's talking about God being mentioned. But I'm going to keep going through what he's talking about. So 40:12. That is because when Allah was called upon alone, again, invoked. Here's the action, invoked. Du'iyya, Allahu wahdahu. You get the verb, you get the noun, you get the modifier. 40:80. And when they saw our punishment, they said, we believe in Allah alone. Again, amana billahi wahdahu. You get the action, you get the noun, and you get the modifier. 64. I'm going to jump down here until it says, we have denied you, and there has been between us and you animosity, hatred forever, until you believe in Allah alone. Again, tu'minu billahi wahdahu. Believe, the action, in Allah. Noun, proper noun, alone. Modifier. 74, 11 and 12. Oh, no, that's a whole other thing I put in there. What am I doing here? So here I show again, I'm showing 1746 in context, right? So it's saying here, I'm just going to go to the word by word real quick. So y'all can see the comparison, right? And when you mention your Lord in the Quran alone, that's what the word by word literally says when you go 10 to 11 to 12 to 13 to 14 to 15, in direct linear order of the verse, right? They translate that as when you mention your Lord alone in the Quran, and that's not what it says. If it said your Lord alone, it would say wa'ida the karta rabaka wahdahu fil Qurani, but that's not what it says. It says it the other way. You have the action here, the mention, then you have your Lord, the noun, right? Then you have a whole nother you have a prepositional phrase. Then you have il-Qurani, proper noun, wahdahu, modifier. This verse does not follow the same linguistics of the other verses you cited. It's not talking about Rabbaka wahdahu. It doesn't say the karta Rabbaka wahdahu. It says the karta Rabbaka fi il-Qurani wahdahu, in the Quran alone. Literally says that. If it said it the other way, it would look like 39:45. Look at it, same breakdown. Wa'ida, dhukra, right? These are the same words, the karta and dhukra. Allahu wahdahu. Again, you get the action, and when is mentioned Allah alone. And when you mention your Lord in the Quran alone. two completely different contexts. Again, my argument was not completely different sets of linguistics. My argument was not based upon context. It was based upon linguistics. But now I'm going to provide even further context, right? Because the Quran is mentioned in Surah 17 11 times. That's 16% of the amount of times that the word Quran is used in the Quran itself. The Quran is directly mentioned as Quran 11 times in Surah 17. It's indirectly mentioned almost, when you include the Quran, it's directly and indirectly mentioned almost 20 times. Almost 20 times. So I'm going to read when it's talking about the Quran in Surah 17, the context of what it's talking about. So I'm going to go from the context within the surah it's talking about and the mentions of the Quran within that surah real quick. 17:9. Indeed, this Quran guides to that which is most suitable and gives good tidings to the believers who do righteous deeds, that they will have a great reward. And those who do not believe in the hereafter, we have prepared for them a painful punishment. 17:41. And we have certainly diversified in this Quran, or this contents isn't there, right? We have certainly diversified the contents in this Quran that mankind may be reminded, but it does not increase the disbelievers except in aversion. Say, O Muhammad, if there had been with him other gods, as they say, then they each would have sought to the owner of the throne of the way, or of the throne away. Excuse me. So I want y'all to see the context here. What he's saying, what I'm saying. He's talking about the polytheists all day, Vegeta, right? And I don't disagree they're being addressed. I don't disagree with that. I'm saying they're being addressed with the Quran by itself, not with the Quran and the Hadith. And I'm going to make this extremely clear as to why it's saying that. And if we spar again, Vegeta, I'm going to use this verse against you when I level up. I just want you to know when I have to break out the Kaioken, you know what I'm saying? I'm going to use 1741 on you, bro. Just so you know. And so we get 1745 through 47 clearly watch how the Quran is mentioned 3 times in a row with this, right? 1745. And when you recite the Quran, okay, it's talking about reciting the Quran. We put between you and those who do not believe in hereafter a concealed partition. And we have placed over their hearts covering, lest they understand it, and in their ears deafness. And when you mention your Lord in the Quran alone, they turn back in aversion. And we are most knowing of how they listen to it, being the Quran, when they listen to you, and of when they are in private conversation. When the wrongdoers say, you follow not but a man affected by magic. So nowhere is the Hadith mentioned anywhere is the Quran mentioned alongside anything else. No, so far it's not mentioned along with anything else. It's by itself. And in that verse it specifies alone. 1759. And nothing has prevented us from sending signs except that the former peoples denied them. Please pay attention to that part. And nothing has prevented us from sending signs except that the former people denied them. And we gave Talmud the she camel as a visible sign, but they wronged her, and we send not the signs except as a warning. 1760. And remember, O Muhammad, when we told you, indeed, your Lord has encompassed the people, and we did not make the sight which we showed you except as a trial for the people, as was the accursed tree mentioned in the Quran. And we threatened them, but it increases them not. Again, the Quran. And we threaten them, but it increases them not except in great transgression. 1777. And my man, all my people should be familiar with this verse going into 78, because I refer to this one all day. That is our established way, our sunnah, for those we had sent before you of our messengers, and you will not find in our way any alteration. Again, this is the sunnah of Allah we're talking about. There's no sunnah of Muhammad mentioned anywhere in this verse, in this chapter. 1778. Establish prayer at the decline of the sun from its meridian until the darkness of the night, and also the Quran of the dawn. Indeed, it says here, the Quran of dawn is ever witnessed. It says recitation in English, but it says Quran again in Arabic. Going further, 1788. Say, if mankind and the jinn gathered in order to produce the like of this Quran, again, it's not mentioning anything other than the Quran, they could not produce the like of it, the Quran, singular. Again, even if they were to each other assistance. 1789. And we have certainly diversified the people in this verse, or excuse me, we have certainly diversified for the people in this Quran from every kind of example, but most of the people refused except disbelief. Please keep a hold of that context. People were given the Quran, and people rejected the Quran. There's going to be and this is the way of the previous messengers, is that people are given a scripture and they will reject a scripture. Please keep to that context. 17106, and it is a Quran which we have separated, that you might recite it. Actually, this is the one I'm going to use, not 1741. Excuse me, 17106. If we got to spar again, this is the one, son. This is the one. And, and I will break down why if we have to spar again. And it is a Quran which we have separated, that you might recite it to the people over a prolonged period. And we have sent it down, progressively. 17107. Say, believe in it or do not believe. Indeed, those who were given knowledge before it, when it is recited to them, they fall upon their faces in prostration. So this is talking again about the recitation of the Quran by itself. It's talking about it. That's 5 times right there in those 2 verses. It's referred to indirectly, but singularly at that. And this is why I wanted to focus on something concerning the people of the previous people who were sent scriptures but rejected them. Watch what it says about hadith and these people. Surah 23, ayat 43 through 44. No nation will precede its time, nor will they remain. Then we sent our messengers in succession. Every time there came to a nation its messenger, they denied him. So we made them follow one another to destruction, and we made them narrations, haditha. We made them hadith. So with the people who do not believe, away with the people who do not believe, excuse me. And this is breaking down nations that disbelieve are dispersed with ahadith. So listen to this. And because I'm going to give a reiteration from the Quran itself, right? So just so we're clear. Then we sent our messengers in succession. Every time there came to a nation its messenger, they denied him. So we made them follow one another to destruction, and we made them hadith. We made them narrations. So this is for reiteration from the Quran, because you know how I get down with my methodology and whatnot. Surah 34, 15 through 19. Watch how this works. There was for the tribe of Saba, the Sabians, in their dwelling place a sign, 2 fields of gardens on the right and on the left. They were told, eat from the provisions of your Lord and be grateful to him. A good land have you and a forgiving Lord. 16. But they turned away, refusing. So we sent upon them the flood of the dam, and we replaced their 2 fields of gardens with gardens of bitter fruit, tamarisks, and something of sparse lote trees. And look what it says here. But they said, our Lord lengthened the distance between our journeys and wronged themselves. So we made them narrations, ahaditha, and dispersed them in total dispersion. Indeed, that are signs from everyone patient and grateful. So what's the point of me bringing this up? The point of me bringing this up is that when Vegeta is talking about the polytheists who don't accept Allah alone, and why the Quran is not, and why it's talking about the oneness of Allah, not the Quran, Vegeta, you got to understand. It already said in Surah 17 that those people had that they were rejecting the Quran, etc. They were rejecting what was given, etc. Whatnot, right? So when people reject stuff, right? When people believe in other gods or whatnot, they've already fallen away. They're falling away based upon when they fall away, they get other narrations, they get other ahadith, right? So when the messenger's coming with the Quran by itself and no other hadith, which is not being mentioned nowhere else, right? Again, il Qurani waqtahu, not rabaka waqtahu, il Qurani waqtahu, right? He's bringing his Quran in competition with these hadith. These other hadith are what have them believing in other than Allah. So he's basically, you know what I'm saying, putting it on the table, going all in, like, okay, your hadith versus my Quran. So it's talking about what he recites when you recite. In Surah 17, it talks about 3 times the Quran being recited for reiteration, right? And nothing else is being recited. But it's being recited in competition with these hadith because, again, like you said, he's talking to polytheists, people who accept the law but don't accept the oneness of Allah. They accept Allah, but they don't accept the oneness of Allah, like you were saying. So he's putting his book versus theirs. His book versus theirs. That's what, like, again, in the Quran, it's all kind of falsification tests, but it says, write other verses better than this. Write other surahs better than this. It doesn't say write better hadith than this. It literally says in the Quran that it is the greatest hadith. That's why he's throwing it down versus their hadith. When you mention your Lord in the Quran alone, when you're making recitations of the Quran, again, mentioned 3 times in that chapter. But going forward, 3945 clarifies that 1746 is using different language. وَإِذَا ذُكْرَ إِلَّهُ وَحْدَهُ versus وَإِذَا ذَكَرْتَ رَبَّكَ فِي الْقُرْآنِ وَحْدَهُ. Again, the action, Allah is the proper noun and wahdahu as the modifier. Here we have the action, the same action, remembrance. We have Rabbaka being mentioned in replace of Allah. And then we don't get the modifier after there. We get the modifier after the Quran, in the Quran alone. Fi il Qurani wahdahu. Again, 1745 speaks of reciting the Quran without mention of hadith. 1746 speaks of mentioning Allah from the Quran without mention of hadith. 1747 speaks of disbelievers listening to the Quran without mention of hadith. 1745 through 47 is about those who recite Quran and the disbelievers who shrink in aversion. One more time. This is my claim, brother. I'm not saying it's about Sunnis or whatnot. I'm saying it's about those who recite Quran and those who and the disbelievers who shrink in aversion. 1742 and 60 says the Quran only increases the disbelievers in aversion and transgression. The Quran does that. Reciting the Quran makes them shrink in aversion. Surah 17 mentions the Quran directly 11 times. 16% of the Quran, or the times it's mentioned in the Quran, it's mentioned in Surah 17. That's more than any other chapter in the Quran. The emphasis is on the Quran. Hadith is not mentioned one time in that chapter. And the only time Sunnah is mentioned, it's the Sunnah of Allah. The Quran alone is recited as those who turned away have their own ahadiths. That's my biggest point to my brother. Is those who hold on right quick. Pardon me. So again, the Quran alone is recited as those who turned away have their own ahadiths. I can't stress that enough. I cannot stress that enough. But going forward, the Quran is being spoken of as being recited alone because the Quran states the claim that Muhammad has, or excuse me, the Quran is being spoken of as being recited alone because the Quran, I didn't finish that one out. Hold on. I'll just go forward then. The claim that Muhammad has his own sunnah that equates to his action and speech separate from the message of the Quran is a claim that needs to be substantiated by the claimant, no one else. Again, the brother said that if my reading of the verse was correct, it still wouldn't mean that I need to reject the hadith, right? So we're probably definitely at the spar on part 3 on that one, right? Because I don't, again, the substantiation of me having to use the hadith is not on me because I say I don't have to, and I always break down why I don't have to every time I mention it. And I'm going to here when I end the video. But I have provided my proofs from the Quran that the hadith of Muhammad were not authorized, and the verses of Allah are his hadith, and the Quran is the best hadith. So this is where I bring my proofs every time, just so people understand what I'm saying. And this is where I need my Sunni brothers and whoever follows the hadith to come bring me their proofs if they want me to go follow that joint, right? 39, Surah 39, ayat 23 stipulates, Allah has sent down the best hadith, the best statement, a consistent book wherein is reiteration. Surah 39, ayat 55. and follow the best of what was revealed to you from your Lord. Same concept, right? Surah 45, ayah 6. These are the verses of Allah which we recite to you in truth. Again, this is what's being recited. I've never seen a verse talking about the hadith being recited other than the Quran is the best hadith. These are the verses of Allah which we recite to you in truth. Then in what hadith after Allah and his verses will they believe? To me, this is the one-hitter quitter, because it specifies the only authorized hadith are Allah's verses. Are Allah's verses. And again, the hadith that my homies follow, that they're not equated to the verses of Allah. If they were, they would be in the Quran. Surah 31, ayat 6. And of the people is he who buys the amusement of speech to mislead others from the way of Allah without knowledge, and who takes it in ridicule. Those will have a humiliating punishment. So there's literally going to be hadith that mislead people from the way of Allah. Which is why it asks that question defiantly, in what hadith after this and after Allah and his verses will you follow? So to be clear, the clear reiteration of the Quran is this. The Quran is the best hadith, the best statement. These verses of Allah are his hadith. What hadith after this will they believe is the question it defiantly asks. And it specifies that idle tales, hadith, will mislead the people that are not the Quran. That are not the Quran. So I hope this clears things up for my brother Vegeta. I'm looking forward to a third round spar, bro. Like, I really want to get into that. You know what I'm saying? And I would love to do it live, bro. I'll give you all the time in the world. I won't interrupt you. You know what I'm saying? I'll let you build on however you need to. If you want a moderator, we can get one. But with that, I'm going to shut it down because I got to go do some other things and whatnot. But I say peace and love to the family. And y'all have a good one.